Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Shri Guru. Namaste everyone. It is absolutely my pleasure to be here with you today. And this is going to be a very special live stream. What we're going to be doing today is celebrating Guru Purnima. And this is the Guru Purnima celebration for 2025. First, let me explain what is meant by this term. Guru Purnima is a very, very important Vedic sacred day. It's a holy day that occurs each and every year. And the truth of the matter is the actual day was on Thursday, July 10th. So it was actually several days ago. But we are doing our public celebration of Guru Purnima today, on this day, on Sunday, just because this is when we usually do the live stream, and this is when everyone throughout the world joins us. So we've decided to indeed celebrate, at least for the public, Guru Purnima on this day. Indeed, this is something that many Hindu temples throughout the world do. They'll wait till the Sunday that is as close to Guru Purnima as possible, and that's when they'll have a big public celebration, in addition to the celebration on the actual day itself. And what we're going to be doing today is indeed speaking about the importance of Guru, because that is what this day is about. It is a day in which indeed we speak about and we celebrate the Guru. Now, let me first of all explain why this is something of such importance. First of all, almost everyone, regardless of your situation in life, has a guru of some sort. Now, that may come as a surprise to people, especially many people of whom, maybe you have kind of the common idea of what the term guru means. And that means specifically a spiritual master. While certainly that is the most important meaning of the term guru, in actuality, the term guru means teacher. Anyone who very specifically is an expert teacher on a specific topic, a specific subject, and they teach this, that person is considered to be a guru. So for example, if an individual studies sitar under a true master, that person is a sitar guru. If a person studies Bharatanatyam dance, well, they would study under a guru, a true master of that art, etc. So the truth of the matter is that in a way, very generally speaking, one could say that any of the true teachers in our life, again, true teachers, not just someone who calls themselves a teacher, but they're not really qualified. No, anyone who is a true teacher in our life is a guru. So if you've gone to grade school, if you've gone to high school, graduate school, college, anything like this even, well, if you are fortunate, you have had at least one, maybe several gurus, individuals who are experts at their field and who taught you. Now, of course, that is the generic meaning of the term guru. The most important meaning of the term guru is indeed an individual who is very specifically a spiritual teacher. And this has always been the understanding. While on the one hand, generally speaking, this word guru can mean any legitimate teacher, the most important meaning that has always been accepted is that when you say the word guru, indeed what comes to mind is an individual who is a spiritual guru specifically. So it's especially that we are celebrating today. Again, all gurus really, but truthfully, especially the most important of all gurus, and that is the individual who is a spiritual teacher. Now, interestingly, while it is the case that for the last, several hundred years only, really, for the last several hundred years, what it means to be a guru has been very confused in the minds of many individuals, including, beginner, lay individuals, all the way up to individuals who indeed pose themselves as gurus. Unfortunately, in recent centuries, again, maybe just the last 200 years or so, there has been tremendous confusion about what exactly does this mean, what is the purpose of guru, does a person even need a guru, etc., etc. Now, this has been the case, sadly, with all of Sanatana Dharma, that we have seen that in the last several hundred years, almost all of the main concepts of Sanatana Dharma are now confused. Whereas at one time, previous to 200, 300 years ago, there was very little confusion. And now there is. So even when it comes to important terms, karma, dharma, etc., so many important concepts, philosophical concepts. Again, with all of these, even some that are the most basic and the most simple, we now have nothing but confusion and misunderstanding. Well, the way that the International Sanatana Dharma Society studies, understands, and explains this path of Sanatana Dharma is without the modern confusion. Indeed, we go back to the original understanding of all terms, all concepts, all practices, etc. Well, this is the case with Guru as well, and understanding of what is technically called Sri Guru Tattva, that is the principle of Sri Guru. Because there are actual principles that are behind what it means to be a guru. Why one must have a guru? What is a true disciple, etc. This is not left up to speculation, but rather it is all outlined in the Vedic scriptures very nicely and in a very detailed way, with very little room for speculation. But of course, what is the difficulty today? People derive their knowledge even of so-called Vedic things from sources that are outside of the Vedas. And even in the very wording, you can see what the problem is. We wish to understand the Vedic tradition. Why is it called the Vedic tradition? What does Vedic mean? It doesn't mean anything you want it to mean. You can just make up a term. No, Vedic means of the Veda, that is, of the Vedic scriptures. So if one is indeed a follower in any way, doesn't matter if you're a Vaishnava, if you're a Shaiva, if you're a Shakta, if you are a Vishishta Advaitin, if you're an Advaitin, if you are following the Vedic tradition, that means that you must derive your knowledge and your right to speak with authority from one place, Veda. And by Veda is meant all the Vedic scriptures, from the 4 Veda Samhitas through the Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, etc., etc., etc. So now, when it comes to indeed understanding Guru, what we're going to be doing today is going through a slew of verses, and we'll try to go through them quickly, actually, explaining what is the nature of Guru. But before I do that, first let me deal with the most fundamental question. And that is, why does an individual need a Guru? Because indeed, and this actually, interestingly, has not been just in the last 200 years, this next phenomenon that I'm about to discuss has occurred very recently, meaning in the last maybe few generations, 2-3 generations, where a person will even question, why even have a guru? Indeed, why can I not be my own guru? Well, let me address that very quickly, because it is a question, the silliness of which, once we begin speaking about that, will become very, very apparent very, very quickly. Why can I not be my own brain surgeon? I have to have some serious brain surgery, where, of course, I need to be under anesthesia. The surgery itself will take several hours. I need a team of nurses, assistants, etc., who are there. But I've decided I'm going to do the surgery on my own brain. That is, of course, an impossibility, because number one, we're not even going to be conscious. To do such surgery, see, that alone, do we need to go any further? We start to see how silly this is. If we are to do surgery on our own brain, and again, serious surgery, well, we're going to be unconscious. That itself means we won't be able to be our own brain surgeon. But then even if we weren't unconscious, we would be in a lot of pain doing the surgery on ourselves. It simply would not be possible. Well, in the same way, this is what it is like saying, well, I am going to be my own guru. As an individual who is operating out of illusion, I am going to be that authority outside of that realm of illusion that is going to be able to guide me out of illusion, even though I am an illusion. Therefore, I am a guru in illusion trying to get myself out of illusion. It simply doesn't work. Rather, in the same way that, if we need major brain surgery, we need an actual surgeon to come, and ourselves as the patient, we need to have the surgeon perform the surgery on us. In the same way, a guru necessarily has to be someone who stands outside the realm of false ego and illusion. That being the case, most individuals in need of an illusion, in fact, not most, I'm being very charitable, 99.99999% of individuals who need to have a guru precisely because they are in illusion and they cannot help themselves. So this has always been understood within the realm of Sanatana Dharma. This being the case, indeed, the guru principle is something that is sacrosanct in Sanatana Dharma, but properly understood. Properly understood. Not the Hollywood version of gurus, not like that silly movie that came out 20 years ago, The Sex Guru. No, not garbage, not New Age, made up fantasy world. No. We need to understand what is the actual true nature of guru. And how are we going to do this? Again, the epistemic process. And that is, we're going to look at the Vedic scriptures. With that, let's go through these verses. If you want to see them, you can go to the description of this video and you'll see all the verses there that we're going to go through. But let's go through these somewhat quickly. The first verse that we're going to go through is Katha Upanishad, and this is 1, 2, 8, verse 8. And it proceeds in this way. Unless the knowledge of atman, or true self, be taught by another, there is no way to learn it. And there we go. Exactly what I've been saying, that unless that knowledge is given to us by someone else. And again, this is Katha Upanishad. This is one of the major Upanishads. There is scarcely a Bhashyakara, there is scarcely an individual, a Vedantist, who has commented on the Vedic scriptures, who has not commented on this. That's how important this is. And this verse is quite clear, that unless a person is willing to be taught by someone outside of themselves, i.e. outside of what? That bubble of illusion and false ego. Someone who stands outside of that and thus has the ability to help us. Two drowning men cannot help each other. One drowning man can help himself even less. You need someone who is outside of the drowning situation, situated safely, to reach down and help us. So, unless the knowledge of Atman be taught by another, there is no way to learn it. And then there's a nice period after that. This is where this verse ends. But with that, let's go on to the next verse that we're going to look at. And of course, this is Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 34. Very, very famous verse wherein Sri Krishna himself says the following. Try to learn the truth by approaching an illumined soul. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized ones can impart knowledge unto you, because they have seen the truth. So very, very important verse, very well-known verse. Indeed, there is scarcely a person who is conversant with Bhagavad Gita who does not know this verse and know it quite well. Because this is not just anyone stating this. This is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. This is quite literally, truly God himself stating this. And what is he stating here? He is stating the epistemic mechanism by which one knows truth, by which one knows God. Quickly, let's go through this. Try to learn the truth. I'm going to try to make my commentary very short today, but it's going to be very difficult. Because again, with each of these verses, sometimes you go 5 words and you need to comment there. Try to learn the truth. Let's just stop there for a moment. So this is, of course, Prabhupada's translation. And his, that is, Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and specifically his original 1972 Macmillan edition translation, is the best translation of the Bhagavad Gita into English on earth. Period. And trust me, whoever disagrees with me out there, I've read more translations by more translators than you have. You don't want to know how many I have read. I've read translations by Swamijis. I've read translations by eminent professors. So indeed, I know the translations that are out there. Indeed, I've translated large portions of Bhagavad Gita myself. And let me tell you, I tell people this all the time, that when it comes to translating Bhagavad Gita, at some point I suppose I'll have to. I don't know, I don't believe I will ever be able to create a better translation than A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. But this is translated correctly. Try to learn the truth. So why does Sri Krishna state this in this way? Not learn the truth. Learn the truth by doing X. He is making it very clear to us how difficult it actually is to learn the truth. So thus he says, try to learn the truth. So in other words, even practicing this model that he says here, you also have to have other requirements. You have to have great sincerity, great devotion, great yearning, great humility, etc. So try to learn the truth by approaching an illumined soul, that's the Guru. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. Indeed, this is the relationship between Guru and disciple. Let me make this very clear, very clear, very clear. The Guru and the disciple are not equal in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. It's not two minds coming together and exchanging ideas. It's one person, as I've said, who is the brain surgeon par excellence, who has been doing surgery expertly, not having lost one patient for 20 years, versus the person in need. They're not equal. They're not equal. They're not equal. So thus, we inquire submissively, that is, with humility, and we render service unto the Guru. Let's go on. Now explains why this is the case. The self-realized ones, i.e. the Gurus, can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. They have seen the truth. Tattva darshinaha. Darshinaha, this is the Sanskrit. Darshinaha, to have seen, and tattva, the truth. Tattva darshinaha. So this is why the Guru has the ability to teach the disciple. Not because, they're just superior to you, they think they're better than... No. It's because they have seen something that you have not even come close to, and thus they have the ability to impart this unto you. This is why we approach the Guru. So with that, let's go on. I think we've done this maybe once or twice in 5 years of doing live streams, and that is, we're going through these with lightning speed. As people know, I can sometimes take one verse and comment on it for an hour and a half. But we're going quickly because we have a lot of verses here. Next, this is Chandogya Upanishad 6:18, verse 2. Only one who has a guru can know the truth. Let me read this again. Only one who has a guru can know the truth. So again, unequivocal, clear, straightforward. Only means only. That's what it means. It means exclusively. It means without exception. Only one who has a guru, that is, who has someone who can impart knowledge unto them, as was explained in the previous verse, can know the truth. So again, the Vedic scriptures are not confused. The Vedic scriptures don't give a mixed message. The Vedic scriptures, as I say again and again, and sadly, to my knowledge, I'm the only guru alive today who states this emphatically again and again and again. The Vedic scriptures speak with one voice upon this topic. And that is that indeed, if you want to know the truth, approach someone who has the truth. It's that simple. And that is the only way. Sincerity? Sincerity is important. You see, a person can make the Asura's argument. Oh, but what if I'm just so sincere and I don't have a guru, but won't God recognize my sincerity? And just by the power of that sincerity alone, I will know God. I will know truth. Well, let me answer that in this way, how I always do. And that is, if you actually were sincere, you would have sought a guru. So you may think you're sincere and haughty in this knowledge of your own self-sincerity. But I'm so well, that's what you say. Then why haven't you just taken the time to find a guru? It's kind of like, oh, there's a cup of water there. I am so sincere in my thirst. And you go on and on about your sincerity for 5 hours, and you haven't tasted any water. You think that merely being sincere is enough. Instead, if you're sincerely thirsty, sincerity is not an emotion. Sincerity is a doing. Very good. Let's go on. More from Chandogya Upanishad, but now this is 4:9, verse 3. For I have heard from men like you, sir, that only such knowledge which is learnt from a teacher leads to real good. So again, this is from the same Upanishad, the Chandogya Upanishad, and indeed, what this individual is saying is that I have heard from men like you, sir. Who is he speaking to? He's speaking to a guru. So in other words, he is saying, I have heard from other authorities, other gurus, sir, that only such knowledge which is learnt from a teacher, that is from a guru, leads to real good. So in other words, if you truly want the real good in every sense, metaphysically, ontologically, morally, behaviorally, etc., philosophically, that which is true versus its opposite, well, the way that we know this is indeed, again, by approaching a guru. That only such knowledge which is learned from a teacher, a guru, leads to real good. So again, you see the pattern that's here again and again. I know that in the last few years, there have been several times when speaking about the nature of guru, I'll tell people, if you understood how many verses there are extolling the importance of a guru, you would be amazed. And I've told people there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of verses throughout the totality of the Vedic scriptures. What I'm presenting to you today is maybe 1%, if even that. I doubt if it's that much. But indeed, this is a little sampling, a little baby sampling of some of the verses found throughout a variety of Vedic scriptures that indeed speak about the nature of guru, the importance of guru, etc. Now, let's go on a little bit more. We're going to be quoting now from an interesting source. This is now from one of the Puranas. You see, I very specifically did this in such a way that we're looking at verses from different Vedic scriptures, from here, from there, from here, there, different genres of Vedic scriptures, so that you see that, again, the totality of the Vedic scriptures speak with one voice, and one voice alone. Now, let's read this from Vayu Purana, and this is chapter 1, verse 24. It's speaking now of an Acharya, which is also a guru. Indeed, it's a preceptor, a preeminent guru. It's higher than just a guru. An Acharya is one who fully understands the conclusions of the revealed scriptures. His own behavior reflects his deep realization, and thus he is a living example of divine precept. He is therefore known as an Acharya, or one who teaches the meaning of the scriptures, both by word and deed. So indeed, this verse alone has so much in it that the truth of the matter is we could do one entire hour-long live stream just examining this verse. But let's look at this as quickly as we can, but at the same time, very respectfully, giving it the attention that it deserves. So first of all, this verse very specifically now is talking about what is the nature of guru. You see the previous verses spoke about the importance of having a guru. You must have a guru, you must have a guru, you must have a guru, etc. Well, of course, this begs the question, what is a guru? How do you know if a person is a guru? And interestingly, this very authoritative verse from one of the Puranas, Vayu Purana, gives an almost perfect definition of a guru. So let's go through this. First of all, it's speaking not just of a guru, but this is in the Sanskrita, Acharya. Acharya. This is someone who is a preceptor, someone who is a lineage holder, someone who is not just, even a spiritual guru, but someone above that. They serve certainly in the role of guru, that's a given. But in addition to that, they have added responsibilities. That is, like I said, they are a lineage holder. That is, there is a parampara, there is a sampradaya, and this individual is a representative of that lineage, of that spiritual philosophical heritage stretching back to the beginning of time. So, an acharya, and now here's the definition in this one sentence, is one who fully understands the conclusions of the revealed scriptures, Veda. All you need is this sentence. If you were to contemplate this sentence for an hour, several hours, day after day after day, you would understand so much. First of all, what is the definition? Let's go through this. An acharya is one who fully understands. So first of all, understands. If an individual claims to be an acharya, a guru, anything like this, a spiritual teacher within the context of the Vedic tradition, and they don't understand the Vedic scriptures, by definition, they are not a guru if they don't understand. But more, this verse goes deeper. One who fully understands. So not merely understands in a surface level, just on the surface level, that, yes, this seems to be what this verse is saying, what this scripture is saying, but who fully understands it. And what does that mean? That means who fully understands in the broadest way what is meant by the Vedic scripture that they have studied and that they are now teaching, but more depth-wise. They understand the layer upon layer upon layer to the point where it's no longer even intellectual, to the point where the understanding is something that is of the nature of consciousness encountering consciousness, i.e. the individual atman encountering God himself via God's word, shabda, in the form of shastra, the Vedic scriptures. So fully understands. Now, what else? The conclusions, the siddhanta. Not, the opinion, because they think that the Vedic scripture just holds opinions like every other book in the world does. No. They fully understand the siddhanta, the highest and penultimate philosophical conclusion. And then of what? Of course, Veda. Veda, the revealed scriptures. The Vedic scriptures. Now let's go on. His own behavior reflects his deep understanding, his deep realization. So indeed, as a result of the acharya throughout his life encountering the Vedic scriptures, again, not just intellectually, but in a living way, such that those Vedic scriptures, the teachings thereof, are now living within and through that guru, through that acharya. His day-to-day behavior is a reflection of those Vedic scriptures. What does that mean? Very simply, he cannot say one thing, do another. Yes, my disciples, you must avoid alcohol. And then on the weekend, he's at the bar. And a million other examples that I can give. No. His behavior reflects his deep realization of those scriptures, and thus he is a living example of divine precept. So in other words, he is an individual who is a living example of everything that is spoken of in the Vedic scriptures. And but when I say spoken of, I don't mean simply descriptively. In other words, it within the Vedic scriptures explains what true gurus look like and he looks like that. No, he personifies the very teachings themselves, the very philosophy, the philosophical essence of the Vedic scriptures. Let's go on. He is therefore known as an acharya, and now gives the definition of this term, which is also the Paninian definition of the term in accordance with true Sanskrita. or one who teaches the meaning of the scriptures. So this is what the guru does. This is his almost sole responsibility by definition. What does the Acharya do? He teaches the meaning of the scriptures. Again, if you find some so-called guru and everything that he says, everything he teaches doesn't come directly from the Vedic scriptures, then that's not a guru. So he teaches the meaning of the Vedic scriptures, and how? By word and deed. So by both repeating purposefully, perfectly, the actual teaching of the Vedic scriptures, but also living those himself. Now let's go on. I'm looking at the time. We're actually doing quite well. So we're going to go through the rest of these verses. This is now from Narada Pancharatra, very important scripture. And this is from 1:669. And it proceeds in this way. A person who does not see his spiritual master as all auspicious, but rather views him as an ordinary man, suffers the result of killing a brahmana and faces danger at every step of his life. So now you'll see how the way I picked these verses out of, again, hundreds and hundreds of potential verses. The way that I picked these verses specifically is there is an arc that is there. First, we had verses explaining, you must have a guru, you must have a guru, you must have a guru. And again, of the, I believe, 3 that we went through that said that, I could have picked out of hundreds. Then, all right, what is a guru? What is the definition of a guru? Now we've had that. Now we're talking about the guru from the perspective of the disciple. So with that understanding, I probably should have said that first. But now let's just look at this verse one more time. Let me read it again, now that we understand. So a person that is the disciple, who does not see his spiritual master as all auspicious, but rather views him as an ordinary man, suffers the result of killing a brahmana and faces danger at every step of his life. So now this is explaining what is the proper attitude that the disciple must have. See, it's interesting, I've said this before, how there are so many individuals who will give talks, who will write books, who will write articles, who will do a video on YouTube, etc., talking about, oh, what is a guru? What really is a guru? Do we know what a guru is? I don't know what a guru is. Oh, let's speculate. Well, what's a guru? What's a guru? What's a guru? How do you know? How do you know? Again, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things like this talking about the nature of guru. Very few individuals today, at least, speak about, well, what is a true disciple? Because it's a two-way street. You may have a true guru, but then if you have a bunch of disciples, none of who are qualified, then all you have is the guru in isolation. And that's very sad to even think about, that here is an individual who can impart unto us the truth, but there's no one qualified to even know that truth. No, you have to know both. So now we're discussing this. Let me mention, actually, that as far as truly Sri Guru Tattva, what is the principle of Sri Guru, that's why I wrote this book, Taking Refuge in Dharma. And this is a book which, this is the 3rd edition of this book. The 3rd edition just came out not long ago. I forget exactly when, maybe 6 months ago, more or less. But this is a massive book that discusses from beginning to end the entire science of guru, but also, as I'm saying now, disciple as well. What makes an individual even qualified to be a disciple? See, let me talk about this for a moment. Again, everyone sees this from the perspective of the disciple. Oh, I'm looking for a guru. I'm looking for a guru. I'm the person who's going to bestow the privilege upon someone to be my guru, as if the guru is doing us a favor. And in actuality, the truth of the matter is, a true guru is extremely discriminating in who he will even accept as a disciple. A true guru does not allow just anyone, everyone to come, and just because they want a guru, they claim, oh, yes, yes, oh, thank you so much, I'll be your guru. No. On the contrary, that disciple, more than the guru has to prove himself to the disciple. Interestingly, the disciple has to prove himself to the guru. Now that may come as a surprise to people, but that has been the case traditionally. It has always been the case. If you don't know that, it's because you have not read the Vedic scriptures. That's the only reason why you wouldn't know that. But when you read stories of disciples approaching gurus, the guru does not, quote unquote, audition himself for the disciple, ever, throughout the Vedic scriptures. On the contrary, if you are approaching this individual as a guru, then you should have done your homework to begin with. And you understand, oh yes, that person's a real guru. Rather, it is the disciple who has to audition himself for the guru and prove that he's a worthy candidate to be taught by the guru. So indeed, all this being the case, that's why, again, this wonderful little book, Taking Refuge in Dharma, discusses the entire science. If you are someone who you desire to be a disciple of a guru, this book tells you how. Now, let's look at this verse. So, a person who does not see his spiritual master as all auspicious. Now, let's stop there. That's just the first clause of this sentence. So, in other words, a person should see his spiritual master as all auspicious. What is meant by all auspicious? The guru is an individual who meets every single criterion perfectly for what it means to be a guru. And as a result, it means that they are indeed all auspicious. But again, what is meant by that? What it means is that when you are in the presence of such an individual, you are in the presence of auspiciousness itself. And what does that mean in turn? It means you are in the presence of Bhagavan. Indeed, the guru is not God. Let me make that clear again for anyone out there who you're new to this path and you think that the guru is God. The guru is not God, but God is with the guru. The guru is an individual who experiences the presence of God at all times. That being the case, when you are in the presence of the guru, you are in the presence of what is technically called a via intermedium. That is, you are in the presence of someone who serves the function of a window. The window is there, but the window serves a function such that even though it's there, it does not make its presence known. Rather, you see through the window such that you can see to the other side. In the same way, this is the guru. The guru is there. The guru is a person. You can touch the guru, etc. However, when you are in the presence of the guru serves a function such that when you are in that presence, God comes through the guru. And thus you are in the presence of auspiciousness. So a person who does not see his spiritual master in that way, but rather views him as an ordinary man. And let's stop there for a second. Again, I have said this again and again and again. For individuals who make the deadly mistake of being in the presence of, no, not just someone who calls themselves a guru, not a life coach, not a new age healer, etc., Reiki master, blah, 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 blah. No, we're talking about someone on the level of Jesus Christ. We're talking about someone on the level of the Buddha, of Gautama Buddha. We're talking about someone on such an exalted level that when you're in their presence, it is as if all time and causality and space has ceased to be. And as a result of being in their presence, you truly are experiencing right there and then, in an unadulterated manner, the transcendent. This is the sort of individual we're talking about when we are using the word guru. Not 2025 guru. Infinite guru, eternal guru, Guru Tattva, the principle of Sri Guru. This is what we're talking about. This being the case, we are not to make the mistake of thinking that, oh, the guru is our colleague. The guru is our fellow traveler on the path. The guru is just a person who, oh, yes, can give me some good advice, I guess. And, I'll listen and see what he has to say. I'll give a little more weight to him because, well, I know this person, this guru. Oh, but I could also watch a YouTube video. Oh, I could also get a self-help book. And, oh, I'll weigh. No. We are not to see the Guru as an ordinary individual. Rather, we are to understand what precisely is the nature of this individual, that he even has the power and the ability to deliver unto us salvation and liberation. So, what does this mean? We've seen that this has been the tradition, certainly in Sanatana Dharma, certainly. And again, now in recent days, it's in our TikTok culture, it's changed a little bit, it's become degraded. But this was the tradition for millions of years within Sanatana Dharma. This is the tradition in Buddhism. This is the tradition in Taoism. This is the tradition in Jainism. This was even the tradition in Christianity, where you had the masters of philosophy, of theology, etc., where you went and you studied at their feet, if you were Catholic, for example, in the Middle Ages. That you placed the teacher on an exalted platform. And why do you do this? Because by so doing, you are practicing the requisite humility that is necessary, such that you can now open yourself to his teachings. That's the reason why. The Guru, truly left to his own devices, would probably just go deep into a forest and never have to see you again, and simply meditate and revel in the ecstasy of being in God's presence. The Guru doesn't need your adulation, but rather you give your adulation to the Guru because it helps you. So, but rather, who views the Guru as an ordinary man, now what happens to someone who has the wrong view of Guru? They suffer the result of killing a Brahmana. Now let's talk about this. One who is not conversant with Vedic culture has no idea what this means. One who is conversant with Vedic culture knows exactly what this means. What is a Brahmana? A Brahmana is an individual who is very rare in society. They represent, maybe 1%, maybe 2%, maybe if you're very lucky, as much as 3%, depending on what society you're in and where in history you are. But they represent a tiny fraction of society. These are the best. These are individuals who are priests, who are philosophers. These are individuals who are the guardians of Vedic culture. They take it upon themselves to teach the world, and they themselves live a life of humility. They live a life of spirituality, etc. They are truly wonderful individuals. It explains throughout the Dharma Shastra, specifically this genre of Vedic law, but all throughout the other Vedic scriptures as well, that one of the greatest sins that an individual can perform is to kill such a person. Can you imagine? You find someone who is a saintly individual and you kill such an individual. The karmic result will be incalculable. So this is what is being said here. One who does not see the spiritual master as all auspicious, but rather views him as just an ordinary guy, suffers the same karma as if he had killed a Brahmana and more, faces danger at every step of his life. For the rest of his life, he will be in danger. He will never know peace. Very good. So let's go on. We're still doing very good with time. And as I've said, we're looking at so many different scriptures, just so people understand that, again, the Vedic scriptures speak with how many voices? Say.
One.
There you go. One voice. This is now Katha Upanishad, and it is 1 to 12. In order that he may understand the eternal, let him, fuel in hand, approach a Guru who is well versed in the Vedas and always devoted to Brahman, to God. So again, we are continuing to speak from the perspective of the disciple and how the disciple should approach the Guru. So this is the traditional way. When I say traditional, I'm talking about previous yugas. Not traditional meaning just, 300 years ago. Oh yes, 300 years ago as well. But we're especially talking about previous yugas, when everything was done in a radically traditional way in accordance with Vedic teachings. This is how the disciple approached the Guru. So let's go through this. First of all, in order that he may understand that eternal, in other words, such that the disciple can understand God, this is what he must do. So it's interesting. Let him fuel in hand. Now, what is meant by this? Again, people who are really conversant with the Vedic scriptures understand this, because there are places in the Vedic scriptures where it actually explains what's meant by fuel in hand. The idea is that the guru is someone who, in addition to teaching, in addition to guiding, in addition to teaching sadhana, doing sadhana, in addition to being someone who himself is an accomplished sadhaka, as one who has done sadhana all his life and is thus experiencing God, the guru also does yajna for the benefit of humanity. The guru does yajna. How do you do yajna? You need fuel. You need ghee. Very specifically, that's what this is speaking about. Not fuel meaning kerosene. It's talking about ghee very specifically. So what is this saying? If you're going to approach a guru, well, with great humility, come to that guru with ghee. What does that mean? First of all, you are giving dakshina. You are giving in charity. You are giving donation to the guru. Understanding that the guru is going to do yajna, and that ghee, he uses a lot of ghee in doing yajna, and ghee is rather expensive. Make sure that as a sign of your sincerity, when you approach the guru, you bring ghee with you. Oh, Guruji, here is ghee, such that you may now continue to do your yajnas for the benefit of humanity. That is what's being said here. So doing all that, approach a guru who, and now again, it gives the same definition again and again and again. And this is why anyone who has watched my videos, read my books for 37 years now that I've been teaching, you've seen me never waver. I repeat the same things again and again. It's because they come from the scriptures. Approach a guru who is well versed in the Vedas. Again, this is the definition. What's the definition of a guru? Let's say you were to come across not even just a typical, let's say, American New Age person. Let's say an actual smart one, which is hard to find. But let's say you were to find a semi-smart one, and you were to ask them, oh, sir, please put your crystals down for 1 second. I just have a quick question for you. What is the definition of a guru? If they were really smart, they probably would come slightly close, meaning several thousand miles away still, but they would come slightly close to giving kind of a good answer. They would say, oh, yes, guru. And of course, they'll, wave their body like this to pretend they're experiencing something. Oh, a guru is someone who, he's highly enlightened. No, that's not the Vedic definition. Is that a definition? Oh, yes, you'll find that a little bit too. You see, that's a given. It doesn't need to be stated very much. The definition, as we've seen, and again, I'm giving you not even 1% of the verses that we could go through, the definition that the Vedic scriptures give, again, more important than the crystal waving New Age little freak over there, the Vedic scriptures are giving us this definition again and again and again. What is a guru? A true guru? It is one who knows fully the Vedas. The Vedas, the Vedas. We've seen this just today so many times. And again, there are hundreds more verses. So approach a guru who is well versed in the Vedas. And now here comes the bhakti element, as I call it. And always devoted to Brahman. That is, one who has Brahma Vidya, one who has Brahman realization. Brahman meaning God. Brahman being another term for Narayana, for Krishna. So this is indeed the definition of a guru. One who knows the Vedas and one who is always devoted to Brahman, with the understanding that bhakti is infinitely higher than even enlightenment. So, that being said, let's go on now to a few more verses. Now we're going to go to Paramasamhita Pancharatra, and this is chapter 7, verse 27. That man who is ever anxious to gain knowledge of the proper way of worshipping God is alone fit for having Diksha confirmed upon him. It is by doing this that Dharma prospers. Diksha is the term for initiation. So that wise man who is ever anxious. Now let's again stop there. These are two, and they're only two, but they're very important. These are two qualifiers. You see, we're still talking about the disciple. Of the disciple, these are two qualifiers. That is, he has to be wise to begin with. Again, no true guru wants an unintelligent person as a disciple. The fake gurus will accept anyone if they'll give them money. You see, the fake guru doesn't care. The fake guru will take a donation, will take money, will take a fee from the worst human being on the face of the planet who has committed crimes the likes of which are unimaginable. He doesn't care. But a true guru cares about the qualities of the so-called disciple who is coming to him. So to begin with, they have to be wise. They have to be an intelligent person. It is only when you have a truly qualified guru with a wise disciple coming together that you now have perfection of the teaching process and the learning process. So, the wise man, and now who is ever anxious to gain knowledge. In other words, he's enthusiastic. He's enthusiastic, and he shows his enthusiasm. And again, his enthusiasm is not just an emotion. It's so amazing how so many qualifying words, people see as emotions today, and they're not. They're followed by action. So, who is ever anxious to gain knowledge. What does that mean? How is that manifest? The disciple will do almost anything to gain knowledge. What does that mean? That means they will indeed make themselves small as they enter into the gate of the ashrama of the guru, if they need to. They will have humility. They will have humility. They will have humility. It means that they will be patient. Not that they come to the guru and, oh, well, Guruji, I've been here for a whole week and I thought I was going to be enlightened. I'm starting to think you're a fake, maybe. That's someone who's unqualified. That's someone who's a fool. They have to have patience, etc., etc. So this is how being ever anxious is shown. They have to be ever anxious to gain knowledge. And now, what kind of knowledge? Oh, this makes it very clear. Of the proper way of worshiping God. The proper way of worshiping God. So in other words, again, if it is a true disciple, a qualified disciple, why are they approaching the guru to begin with? Let's say they do have intelligence. Let's say they are anxious for some kind of knowledge. Well, I've said this many times. People are attracted to spirituality for a variety of different motivations. Some of who the motivations are so self-centered, they might as well have just gone to Wall Street and been a stockbroker. But instead, they decide to be spiritual. No. What the motivation should be, what the disciple should be seeking is one thing and only one thing, and that is to know, to love, and to serve God. And that's it. That should be the primary motivation. To be centered upon God in every way. To have God consciousness. Brahma Vidya, God consciousness. So this makes this very clear. That if you're approaching the Guru, please have it be the case that the reason why you are approaching the Guru is to know the proper way of worshiping God. So such a person is alone fit for having initiation, Diksha, conferred upon him. So indeed, this is the process when we approach the Guru, is that we approach the Guru, ourselves as disciple having all the correct qualifications, the Guru being indeed an authentic, real Guru. What does that mean? He teaches in accordance with the Vedas and he himself is God conscious. Now there is that process of initiation, real initiation, not occultic initiation, not Freemasonry initiation, not New Age initiation, real initiation, such that now there is a link between that guru, who is the transparent via medium through which God is known, and that aspirant who wishes to know God. Now there is that divine connection known as diksha, or initiation. Again, in this book, Taking Refuge of Dharma, I talk about the entire process of diksha more thoroughly than is available in any other book in the English language, because it is a process. It's a very strict process. It comes directly from the Vedas, and indeed it has to be known. Now, finally, this last sentence. It is by doing this that Dharma prospers. So it is by following everything that was just said in this last verse that we just read, and really, it's understood, all these verses. It is by doing this that Dharma itself is now prospering, is now being upheld. Very good. Let's go on just a little bit more. And this will be the very last verse that we're going to look at. And this is from Narada Pancharatra 1:9-27. Now, speaking about that process of diksha, again, you'll see how I chose all these verses in a very sequential sort of way. Now, this last verse talks about diksha. There is no doubt that a person who accepts a Vishnu mantra from a foremost, twice-born spiritual master becomes liberated from the contamination that has accumulated from millions of births. Oh, that is some statement, and yet it's 100% true. Let's look at this a little bit. First of all, the first 4 words, there is no doubt. Once in a while, you'll see an emphatic statement like this in a verse of the Vedic scriptures. Actually, you see this somewhat often when the verse is trying to explain to you, wake up, listen, are you listening? This is what the scripture is saying to you. Listen carefully. No, you're not listening carefully enough. You think you are. Listen to what I'm about to say. What I'm about to say to you, there is no doubt about. Oh, let's go deeper. No doubt in whose mind? What the Vedic scripture, when it says this, what it's saying to you is, there is no doubt among true authorities. True authorities. Gurus of the past, rishis of the past, who, due to the fire and intensity of their sadhana, they have lived for 50,000 years doing meditation. There is no doubt in the minds of such individuals what I'm about to tell you. That's what the scripture is saying. So again, once in a while we'll encounter this construct in the Sanskrit. There is no doubt that a person, who's the person? The disciple, who accepts a Vishnu mantra. Now again, let's stop there. We're talking still about the process of diksha, because this is one of the things, indeed, I discussed this in depth. I discussed this process of accepting a Vishnu mantra in Taking Refuge in Dharma. This is initiation. This is diksha. This is what occurs. So it's saying here, there's no doubt that a person who is a qualified disciple, taking initiation from a qualified guru, going through the authorized process, yajna taking place, proper vows having been stated such that the gods are witnesses. Now a Vishnu mantra, and it's interesting, in the Sanskrit, it says a Vishnu mantra, because there are indeed quite a few authorized Vishnu mantras. In the ISDS, we meditate upon Om Namo Narayana. And this is indeed one of the most important of the Vishnu mantras, but it's not the only one. There are quite a few, actually, Vishnu mantras. So one who accepts a Vishnu mantra, and from whom? Again, it makes it clear, not just anyone, from a foremost, so that means the highest. Twice born, what does that mean? That means that they have this. They have a Brahmana thread. Twice born. Dvija. from a foremost, twice-born spiritual master, becomes liberated. And again, let's stop there. This is the last verse we're looking at. Becomes liberated. So a person who goes through this process, so again, they are qualified as a disciple. They accept diksha, initiation, from also a qualified guru who has a brahmana thread. And they're initiated in a Vishnu mantra that is revealed in the Vedic scriptures. What happens to such a person? If they are sincere, if they follow the process, not if they're insincere, not if they don't actually do, but if they follow the process, they will achieve liberation. Liberation, freedom from illusion, freedom from ignorance, ignorance being the opposite of that which is true. They will know peace. They will have devotion unto God such that they will, upon liberation, be within the divine presence of God. So they will become liberated. But now it goes deeper. From the contamination that has accumulated from millions of births. So in other words, even if the disciple is someone who, this is just their specific history as a person who has reincarnated again and again and again, even if they have contaminated themselves by doing stupidly, mistakenly, accidentally, on purpose, whatever, they have committed so many sins over the course of millions of lives. If they follow this process to the letter, in accordance with the teachings of the Vedic scriptures and the liberated acharyas, what will happen? They can be liberated even if they have committed sins for millions of lifetimes and have been contaminated as a result. That contamination will disappear and they will know freedom. They will know freedom. They will know freedom. So, such is the nature of Sri Guru, such is the nature of the disciple who approaches Sri Guru with sincerity, with humility, with eagerness, etc., that they will indeed themselves achieve liberation. But they must have a guru. So this is why today, on this special day, and again, the actual day was Thursday, a few days ago, but that's all right, on Guru Purnima, what we do is we celebrate such individuals, the likes of which are being discussed in these, and again, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other Vedic scriptures. This is the nature of Guru. This is why we celebrate the Guru. That is why you wish to know the truth, then you must approach such a person who has the truth. So with that, Jaya Shri Guru. Thank you very much for listening to my discourse and my very quick commentary on all of these wonderful verses from a variety of Vedic scriptures. And with that, not for very long, maybe for about 5 or 10 minutes actually, I would like to take some questions from people. So if anyone does have any questions in the chat, especially people who are watching online right now from all over the world, indeed I see some of the names of individuals here, and I see that, oh indeed, I see some wonderful individuals here who I know in the UK, in Croatia, all over the world, in India, etc., all over the United States of America, Canada, variety of places. I'm very happy that you could join us here. And with that, again, if there are any questions, please feel free to ask any questions that you have whatsoever, and it will be my pleasure to answer them for you. They must be questions about Sanatana Dharma, not anything speculative. I don't do speculation. I don't do comparative religion in any way. But if you have a question about Vedic philosophy, about anything we've discussed today, about the nature of guru, disciple, etc., please feel free to ask. And there is a little bit of a lag, a time delay, so I'll give people a short time to ask their questions and wait for them to come through. Very good. Yes, let me also say that in addition to questions, if anyone would like to make any statements about Guru Purnima, that would be wonderful as well. Here's one statement, and I'll read this. I won't give names, but you know who you are. Thank you for being such a wonderful guru for myself and so many people throughout the world. Your selflessness, wisdom, and perseverance is a humbling inspiration, to say the least. Well, thank you very much for saying that. I truly appreciate it very much. Good. I see part one of a question here. I'll wait for part two to come in, and then I'll answer that question. But indeed, if there are any other questions, here we go. Yes, very good. Good. All right, part two has come in, and I'll definitely answer this. It is Namaste, Guru. I read over some verses from the Devi Bhagavad Purana, and a lot of verses speak of being born for many births as lizards or worms as a punishment for sin. And then the second part continues, I find these verses very alienating to me, and they don't quite make sense to me intuitively. Could you please explain these verses? Namaste. Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for the question. And let me say that I've been asked similar things to this in the past many times. And let me explain this in this way. First of all, this may be even a little bit more disconcerting to you at first, but please bear with me. It's not just the Devi Bhagavad Purana. Many verses from many Vedic scriptures say similar things. And that is that if you are evil enough a person, your punishment will meet how evil you are. That's what's being said here. So indeed, it's not just Devi Bhagavad Purana. This is also in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is also in many other Puranas. This is said in Mahabharata. This is said in many Vedic scriptures. And that is that, in fact, let's go a little deeply into this, because we're speaking, of course, here only about the negative, but rather ethical choices, moral dilemmas such as this are really a two-way street. It's not merely a matter of, oh, if you are purely evil to a point that is almost inconceivable, not only will you be punished to a like degree, but what about the other way around? It also says again and again that if you are someone who is completely good at heart, whose essence it is to simply do good in this world, the rewards that you will find will also be incomparable in the same manner, to the point where you can be the humblest person, meaning that, oh, you don't even own a lot, you live in a very simple way, but your heart is clean and pure, and you do everything you can to help other people, to be pious, to be good, to be sattvic, etc. In your next life, you can be born as a god who will live for 100 million years, and that may go on for several lifetimes, in fact. So it's both ways. That's the first thing to understand. The second thing to understand is that the fact that, how did you state this, that this is somewhat alienating to you, in a way is a good thing. It points to the fact that you're a good person. And this is not just a way of complimenting you. Let me explain philosophically what I mean by this. And that is that very often for good people, for people who are good at heart, and this is both a good thing, sometimes it can be something that trips the person up. For individuals who are extremely good at heart, good in nature, it's often very difficult for them to understand the full scope of the nature of evil. To the point where, when they think of an evil person, maybe as far as their mind can stretch is, some guy in the mafia who maybe is a hitman. That's about it. And let me explain, the nature of the world is such that there is evil to the scope in which a hitman would almost be considered to be a saint in comparison to how evil some people can be. Now, this is the thing. Again, it goes both ways. There are some people who are so evil to the point where it's incomprehensible. There are some people who are so good to the point where it's incomprehensible. But in order to have a firm grasp of reality, we need to accept such scope. We need to understand that this is the nature of this world. Now, this is the thing. What is the nature of justice? I've spoken about this many times. What is the nature of justice? Now, we know that, for example, in the Western world, and there's a reason why this is the case. When you see the statue of the goddess of justice, and you'll see this at courthouses, you'll see this in so many different places. What do you see? You see a woman who is blindfolded, so thus she's objective. But what is she holding? She's holding two things. Number one, she's holding a sword. This represents itself justice. Justice is something which it will be enforced, regardless of anything. But what's the other thing she's holding as far as justice? She's holding a scale. Why? Why is justice represented by a scale? When something unjust happens, the scale has been tilted in such a way that now there must be correction. And things must be brought, what? Back into balance. Balance is Dharma. This is another way of understanding Dharma, that there has to be that balance that's there. Now, with that understanding, now getting to what you were speaking about here. Most people, if they're good, they're a little bit good. Most people, if they're bad, oh, they're a little bit bad. But what is being spoken of here that you're asking me about, these are the extremes. So indeed, what would happen karmically as far as, again, bringing back that balance of justice cosmically? What would have to happen to an individual who is evil beyond your comprehension? What would have to happen? So now, with that understanding, now you can understand this, that given the process of karma and reincarnation, indeed, some of these people, oh, their punishment for their sins is that they will have to experience several lifetimes. Oh, as a lizard, yes, what do you say here? As a worm, in some very lowly life. But this is the thing. It's a punishment, and it's temporary. Once that karma has ceased, now the balance is restored. So again, this is the way to understand this. And again, we have to understand not just the bad part, not just, oh, punishment for being evil, but reward for being good as well. You know, there are stories in the Vedic scriptures that are amazing, that talk about the fate of individuals who are truly good. Individuals who, they can be living the simplest life, living in a hut somewhere, with just the bare necessities to live. But in their heart, they could not ever conceive of doing something harmful toward another person. No, it's not that they don't harm someone because it's against the law and they're afraid. They don't care about the law. They would never harm someone to begin with. They don't need the law. That's how good they are. And they give and they give and they give of themselves, of what little they have. They have one bag of rice. A beggar comes to their door. They'll give them a cup of that rice, even though now they have less to live on. What happens to such individuals who are that good? The Vedic scriptures tell stories about this. When they finally pass away in this lifetime, they will receive rewards, again, the likes of which would amaze us. They will be born as a beneficent being in their next life, as a what we would call a god or an angel, a being who will live for 100 million years and enjoy the best of all things, and they'll be servants of God. So again, this is what we need to understand, is that if there's going to be justice, then there has to be justice in accordance with the individual. So I hope that explains this. And due to time, we're going to end very soon actually, but I just want to see if maybe there are one or two more questions that are here. So give me a moment to just read these questions that are here. There are a lot of questions and comments. Okay, I see you have a follow-up here, and I'll answer your question very quickly. You ask, is reincarnation and karma, the two have to go together. There's no such thing as reincarnation without karma. Karma causes reincarnation. Is it systematic or purely random? It's systematic. There's nothing random in the cosmos. when you're talking about the metaphysical principles that are underlying our cosmos, nothing is random. It's systematic. So I hope that answers your follow-up questions. Your follow-up question. Again, wonderful statement that is here by one of our most precious disciples in the UK. Guru Maharaja, I simply wish to express my deepest gratitude for your limitless compassion and for graciously allowing us to take shelter of your teachings. Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you for your sincerity and for your goodness. Another statement, thank you for your seva, for your service, and all that you do to bring the light of Sanatana Dharma to everyone in the world. Again, thank you for that wonderful statement. Very good. All right, this is the last question that I will answer, and it's a nice one, but it can be answered very, very easily and very simply because it's just a simple ethical/moral question. Greetings from a Platonist in Greece. Well, first of all, namaste. Thank you for joining us from Greece. I know Greece is a beautiful nation with, God knows, an amazing heritage and history going back thousands of years. And you say, I would like to ask the position of Sanatana Dharma on premarital relationships in comparison with Christianity. Namaste. Very good. If you're talking about, let's say, traditional Orthodox, when I say Orthodox, I don't mean in the denominational sense. I mean in the practice sense. So in other words, real Christianity. The way it was practiced, let's say 1,000 years ago in Europe. If you're talking about that when you say Christianity, the position of Christianity and Sanatana Dharma on premarital relationships are the same. No difference. No difference. And I've studied Christianity deeper than probably 99.999% of Christians. So I know the entire, actually interestingly, history of the Christian view on such things from a ethical point of view, a sin point of view, a moral point of view. There's not much difference at all. Indeed, we believe that if you're talking about sexual relations, they belong within the confines of a monogamous marriage. And that's it. And truthfully, when it comes to all traditional religions, no one disagrees with that. This is true for Islam, this is true for Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, on and on and on and on. Taoism, Confucianism, etc. So with that, indeed, I believe that we will end here, and we went a little bit over time, which we do almost every time, but we went a little bit over time. So I thank you for bearing with us. Again, we were celebrating Sri Guru Purnima today, in which we celebrate the Guru, and I thank you for being here with us very much. Several things that I just want to say before we leave. First of all, as I always remind people, we have a Discord server. So if you would like to continue to have meaningful conversations about Sanatana Dharma in such a way that you can learn from our leading disciples, in such a way that you can have your questions answered, that you can receive encouragement, that even if you indeed have, let's say, personal challenges, problems that you just need some encouragement with, please join our Discord server. And I see it's been put up in the chat now. Please feel free to join that. And we have discussion going on there literally 24/7 because we have serious disciples in approximately 70 nations throughout the world, some of who are represented here, UK, Canada, India, now Greece. I didn't even know that there was someone watching from Greece, etc. Please feel free to join that. Also visit our website, dharmacentral.com. And when you go there, indeed, you'll see our many books that are available. I've written 13 books thus far. Many dozens more to come in the future. And I've mentioned this is only one of them, Taking Refuge in Dharma. So you can find those books on there. You can find articles about Sanatana Dharma. If you would like to give a donation, because indeed, as I always have to remind people, this isn't just a YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is one aspect of what we have. The International Sanatana Dharma Society is a movement. that is designed to restore Dharma to our world. So if you would like to give a one-time donation, if you would like to become a monthly tithing member, you can do so on dharmacentral.com. And I see one nice comment here. You guys are the coolest. That is very nice. Wonderful. Thank you for that wonderful comment. I appreciate that. And again, join us next time. And when we get together, it will be a surprise. As I mentioned, we'll either continue going through the scripture Devi Bhagavad Purana, or we might do the Purusha Suktam of the Rig Veda. We'll see what we do. But with that, everyone, I thank you all very much for being here. Namaste. Jaya Shriman Narayana. Jaya Shri Guru. Victory to Dharma in our world. Evam Bhavatu. May it be so. And so it shall be. And with that, everyone, I will leave you with the words of Bhagavan Sri Krishna from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, that I have been leaving you with every live stream for approximately a year or so, and it will continue for a little while longer. And that is in which Krishna says, Ma Shuchaha, in every way, do not fear. Namaste.